I was a single mom, $38,000 in debt, living paycheck to paycheck, just hoping that I would not spend more than I made. I was flying blind with no plan for my money. I wasn't saving. And again, I wasn't planning. I was just spending day by day. And slowly, because there was no plan, I started to creep into debt more and more. Fast forward a few years, add in some planning, sacrifice, and plain old grit, I was able to buy my first home ever at the age of 35. I did it with no outside help other than a home mortgage, and I paid off all $38,000 in debt along the way. How did I do it? Well, keep watching and I will show you step by step how I did it so you can do it too. Now, let me take you back to where this journey started. Like I said, there I was, a single mom who had been a long-time renter. Every year, I would have that twinge of concern about how much the landlord was going to increase my rent at the time of lease renewal. I wanted to have a home that I could call my own and start building equity for myself instead of for someone else. And as a realtor, helping countless people buy homes, I longed for the chance to do it myself. I wanted to prove to myself that I could buy a home, but also set an example for my daughter and show her that hard work and determination will pay off. I wanted the stability and certainty that comes with owning your own home. I wanted a place where I could have guests and my daughter could have play dates and everybody would have room to move around. And I realized the gap from what I was paying in rent versus what I'd be paying in a mortgage for a home was actually pretty manageable. And by the way, you might be surprised at how close that gap is for you too. You just need to connect with the right people to find out. More on that later. So this accumulation of wants and dreams started to push me to make a change. I decided to draw a line in the sand. No more flying blind with my finances. I was going to tackle my debt and save for a down payment and make that homeownership dream a reality. So I set my goals of first getting out of debt and second, saving for a home. But then I actually had to figure out how to do that. And the first thing I did was start with a very basic Excel spreadsheet where I made a list of all of my expenses and all of my debts. I'll link to the spreadsheet I created with this episode description so you can use it too. And it's also on the freebie section of our website. It is a great place to start that is totally free. Once I had everything set up and listed out, I could then see over the course of a month how much I was spending in one place. I might make a coffee run this week and forget that I did it twice last week. Or the same with going to restaurants. I'd easily forget what I had done a week or two ago until I looked at my expenses line by line at the end of the month. Well, that's when I would realize what I was splurging on, and things were adding up more than I thought. But just as important as it was seeing those line by line expenses every month was seeing all of my debt add up every month. On the same spreadsheet, I made a list of that debt, how much the interest rate was, and what I was paying monthly in interest. That was a pretty big aha moment. It's one thing to see a credit card statement and look at the bottom line and maybe gloss over that interest payment portion of what's due. But when you add up all those interest payments and see how much you're throwing away each month in interest, well, that can easily be your wake-up call. Interest is the money you have to pay someone to borrow their money. And I was borrowing money for silly stuff and paying hundreds of dollars in interest every month for that privilege. It was time. I committed to becoming super militant about my spending and adopted the philosophy of, I can't afford it. Want to have lunch out? I can't afford it. Want to meet for a happy hour? I can't afford it. Want to buy that outfit? I can't afford it. Now, I will say, knowing what I know now, I would have actually used different phrasing for myself because there's a lot of data out there about how the words we say to ourselves affect our outcomes. If I could go back and give myself a different mantra, it would have been saying, I'm saving money and getting out of debt. I'm only spending on what is essential. Now, not as quaint and concise. I think it would have actually helped me not feel like I was in such dire straits and feel like I was truly broke. To pay down my debt, I decided to use the avalanche method. And this method focuses on paying off the debt with the highest interest rate first. I put every ounce of energy into paying that debt off each month. And on my expense spreadsheet, I would keep a log of how much of the debt I was paying off so I could have that feeling of a win, seeing how quickly quickly the total debt to that particular credit card was going down. I also had to become extremely diligent and militant with my spending. I cut out all excess spending. I started shopping at places like Aldi, where things are just cheaper. And it almost became a game of how much less could I spend this month than I spent last month. I would look for sales everywhere. I compared prices everywhere. Every single expense was open to scrutiny. Did I really need this or that? Well, most of the times, the answer was no. I learned that mindset plays a big role in this journey too, in so many ways. I had to believe this was actually possible to do, because this journey for me was not just a couple of months. No, it was years. My debt peak was in April of 2015. In that month, I had $38,685.18 of debt. I got completely out of debt in March of 2018. 3 years is a long time to stay motivated and focused. And there were months that my debt didn't go down, but actually went up. But I just had to keep going and remind myself the sacrifices were for the best. I stayed disciplined and motivated by monthly checking in with my spreadsheet. I was able to see the debt total decrease, and if there was a month it did increase, I took the time to scrutinize my spending to see exactly what I needed to do next month so it wouldn't happen again. I also constantly reminded myself of my whys. I thought about what I was building for my daughter and for the example I was showing her with the hard work and determination. It helped having her as someone I wanted to be an example for. And then here's a really neat side effect that happened. Once I got myself out of debt, those habits that I'd created to pay off the debt carried into my efforts to save for a down payment and expedited that process. And finally, all that determination and all that perseverance paid off. I finally got to a point where I paid off the debt and had enough money saved up to buy a home. The process for buying my first home was a long one for me. Once I got out of debt and got my savings account built up, it took me a while to find a home that felt like a right fit. And that was me. Some people get it right away. I needed a home that didn't push my budget, and I had decided at that point that I wanted a new construction home. I needed builder incentives to help offset some of my closing costs, or I really wanted them. I also had to wait for my lease to end so I could renew on a month-to-month lease. My lease happened to be very expensive to break, so I decided to write it out until I could go on a month-to-month term and then only have to give my landlord 30 days notice to let them know I was leaving. And so that added to my timeline a little. I contracted on my home in April of 2019 and closed on it and moved in May of 2019. The only way I knew what I could afford was by working with a lender. There are so many line items to consider that without a lender providing an account of every single expense, there's just no way for you to be sure of exactly what your cost will be. Even those online calculators can't get it right because there are so many factors that are unique to each borrower and each property, and each city, each town, each county. And now I recommend buyers start talking with a lender right away. We have a national lender in our Home Buying for Women lender list who can do soft pulls on credit to run a lending scenario. Now, this way, it doesn't affect your credit score, and you can get a plan in place now that you know will work. Otherwise, you're often taking a random approach, hoping that your plan is the right one, which can be a bit risky. Like some people want to close a credit card as soon as they pay it off, so they're not tempted to build up debt again. And most times, that's actually a bad idea. But if early on, a lender can get a look behind a curtain and see all of your income, assets, and debts, they can give you a very clear path forward and help you get into a home in the most efficient and strategic way possible. And I would love to connect you with one of our lenders who has these programs, has the ability to do soft pulls, and has the know-how to put a tailored plan together just for you. In addition to a lender who has access to grants and special financing programs, you need a realtor. Starting with a realtor early on in the process is ideal because they will help give you a sense of what the market is doing now and where it's likely to be headed, so you can have the proper expectations in this process. They'll also be able to give you insights as to what concessions look like in the current real estate climate, so you can make a strategic decision with your purchase. You'll also want to make sure you're working with a realtor who will be there for the entire process and help keep you motivated and working towards your goals. It's why we have Home Buying for Women realtor advisors as referral partners, because not every realtor has the experience to know how to get someone from that gap to the goal. Those who work with home buying for women buyers do have the experience and the determination to help you get there. So please reach out to us so we can connect you to one of these amazing experts right in your market. 5 years after I bought my home, I sold it. At the sale, I turned my initial investment of just over $10,000 of a down payment into a return of over $100,000. I more than 10x that investment in just 5 years. Now, granted, I will say I did benefit greatly from the property value increases during COVID, and that type of return over 5 years is very unlikely to happen again. But even if COVID had not happened, based on traditional property value year-over-year increases, I would have still gained thousands of dollars in equity over that short period of time that I could then leverage into my next purchase. As an added bonus, those lessons that I'd learned about being militant with saving and scrutinizing my spending still stick with me today. I love the habits I created and that make sure that I'm living well within my means, so I don't risk putting myself in debt again. And because I have these habits, I've been able to start saving for retirement and investing in the stock market. So I'm now creating more ways for my money to work for me beyond building equity in real estate. After I got over the financial hurdles, the biggest challenge I faced as a single mom was the doubt that I could actually do this, which sounds crazy because I'm a real estate agent. I'm in the business and I help people through this process all the time. But I wasn't sure I could actually own a home for myself from the maintenance that I would be in charge of, which is why I decided to buy a new construction home. So the maintenance issues in the early years would likely be minimal. From having the fear of foreclosure looming over me if I missed a payment, which was actually kind of a silly fear because I had never missed a rent payment in all those years I had been a renter. But there was just something about the fact that it was all going to be on my shoulders that made it so intimidating. I had to have a mindset shift of believing in myself. And I actually don't think I'm alone in this as a woman. I think a lot of times when we're in a bad place financially, we're really hard on ourselves. We tell ourselves we're bad with money, we don't make enough, or some other limiting belief that just keeps us from improving. It's why at Home Buying for Women, we're working to build growth groups and create opportunities for women to encourage each other and support each other. So you can get that extra encouragement to keep going when it might feel a little tough to do so, or it feels like maybe the world is conspiring against you and your goals. And this is a time when, as best you can, you need to avoid the naysayers. And that includes your own negative self-talk. This is a time when you need to surround yourself with positive influences, other women who have gone before you and have achieved what you're hoping to achieve, or supporters who see your vision and want to cheer you to it. And remember the Dave Ramsey quote. He says, "We buy things we don't need with money we don't have to impress people we don't like. If you will live like no one else later, you can live like no one else." So don't go out and try to impress people who don't care about what's in your best interest. Getting your financial world in order and getting out of debt, whether it's to buy a house or not, well, that's what's truly in your best interest. My advice would be to start now. Just do it. Draw that line in the sand. The past is the past. And moving forward, you're going to put yourself in a position to get out of debt and start saving money. It's never too late to start. And starting today is much better than starting tomorrow, or a week from now, or a year from now. If I could go back in time, I would tell myself to start talking to a lender sooner. I did not realize how many programs and opportunities existed for people like me in the position that I was in. And again, I worked in the industry. And the good news is there are still a ton of programs available today. Now, one program that I was fortunate enough to know about was the ability to qualify as a first-time home buyer for a conventional loan that only required 3.5% for a down payment. You would be so shocked to learn about the down payment assistance programs available today. And did you know there is a program that allows you to crowdsource for your down payment? Yeah, now I'm going to get a little sidetracked here, but just imagine being a new college graduate. So if you're a new college graduate, you really need to listen to this. Now, instead of typical graduation gifts, you can actually ask people to donate to your home down payment fund. Did you even know that was an option? Now, before you go start a GoFundMe, just know this is a special account. It has to be set up through a lender so it is compliant with underwriting rules. But back to the scenario. You have your first job. And because it's your first job, chances are you're probably going to be below the median average income for the area. And because of that, you could get 2% of the property sales price up to $6,000 in the form of a grant to help with your down payment. Now, if you had people contribute to your down payment fund, that only reduces the amount you have to save even more. And then, instead of going out and renting something that's probably going to cost you about $1,500 a month, you can move back home for 6 months, work your fresh out of college job, save for your down payment, and buy a home 6 months after graduating college. No one is doing that right now, but this process would put you on the fast track of building wealth through equity and even getting you set up to start building your own real estate portfolio. And since you'd probably be buying a starter home, after living in it a few years, you could turn it into an income-producing property, leverage your equity that you've gained to purchase your move-up home. And then you just repeat that process over and over. I am telling you, this would be a game changer in your wealth trajectory. And you don't even have to be a recent college graduate to have this same scenario play out for you. This would apply to so many people. You just have to talk with a lender to find out if you would qualify for this kind of program or any of the programs. And remember, not all lenders offer all these programs, but we know who does, and we are happy to make those introductions for you. 1. Get our guide at homebuyingforwomen.com/gettheguide. This guide covers everything from how to know if you're ready to buy a house, comparing renting versus buying, how to get your financial house in order, understanding mortgage basics and loan types, and the home buying process through closing on your home. It is a treasure trove of information and will prove to be a huge resource to you through this process. 2. Download our spreadsheet and track your expenses, or even write them out by hand. This will give you a clear picture of where your money is going and help you identify areas where you can cut back. You can get the expense and debt tracker on the freebies page of our website at homebuyingforwomen.com/freebies, or I'll have a link to that in the show description. 3. List out your debts. Make a comprehensive list of all your debts, including balances, interest rates, and monthly payments. Understanding the full scope of your debt is the first step towards creating a plan to paying it off. 4. Choose a debt repayment strategy. Use the avalanche method to tackle debts with the highest interest rates first, or the snowball method if you prefer to focus on smaller balances for quick wins. Be consistent and direct all extra funds to debt repayment. 5. Adopt a spending philosophy. Shift your mindset to prioritize needs over wants. For example, replace impulsive spending with the mantra, I'm saving money, I'm paying off debt, I'm only spending on critical needs. 6. Reduce unnecessary spending. Scrutinize every single expense and cut back where possible. Shop at discount stores. Limit dining out and coffee trips. Seek sales and deals. 7. Save consistently. Once your debt is paid off, funnel that money you use to debt payments into a savings account. 8. Educate yourself, read books, listen to podcasts, and use free resources like libraries to improve your financial literacy. Recommended reads for me include The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey and Smart Women Finish Rich by David Bach. 9. Get connected with a lender. Speak with a lender early to understand your options, such as grants or low down payment loans and programs for first-time home buyers. And remember, not every lender has these programs. We have a network of lenders who do, so please reach out to us so we can make those connections. 10. Seek support and encouragement. Surround yourself with positive influences. Join our Home Buying for Women growth groups or an upcoming book club. Seek advice from experts and mentors who can help you stay on track and stay motivated. 11. Start today. Take the first step by committing to your goals and creating a plan. It's never too late to begin improving your financial situation. As a bonus, at Home Buying for Women, we have motivational text messages that are designed to help keep you encouraged and on track with your goals. You can sign up for those at homebuyingforwomen.com/motivation text sign up, or we're going to make it easy on you. We're going to put a link to that in the show description. At Home Buying for Women, we are here to support you. We have resources, tools, and even growth groups to help keep you motivated. Whether you're just starting out or need a tailored plan, we can connect you with the right people. If you're feeling overwhelmed or unsure of where to start, I want to remind you, small steps add up to big results. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be persistent. And remember, you are not alone in this journey. Reach out for support, connect with others who share your goals, and celebrate each milestone along the way. Your future self will thank you so much for the steps you take today. Now, if this video gave you hope or inspired you to take action, please let me know in the comments. Share your goals, big or small, and let's cheer each other on. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with anyone who might need a little encouragement. For women everywhere, you can do this. We'll be your guide.